such an exciting day.
We need to acknowledge that this is not the first time that we've attempted something like this. Many of us have benefited from those who years ago helped establish this as holy ground in the cabins. And we give thanks for that as part of this story. It actually started in kind of an odd way. Actually, you know, sometimes property meetings are not exactly the most exciting time. But I have to tell you, when we had that property meeting, it was like God was super present, because we divided it into two groups. And they came up with this almost same plan. But instead of taking 2 years to raise the money for the pool and the cabins, it took 3 months. That's the song. Before that, there's something that happened by a church that has no plaque out here, no building that they're sponsoring. But without them, we would not have been able to really get started.
For those of you that may not know, the church in Rochester existed for like 125 years, but then in 2005, 2006, we decided to close the church because it wasn't growing and there was no future in it. So when we sold our building, we decided we'd divide the money into 4 different areas of the disciple ministry, and one of the areas was to provide a quarter of our funds to the conference center. No strings attached, just do what they wanted. You know, paying off the debt with a closing of a church is sort of an odd request. But the purpose of the money was to continue the disciple ministry wherever it felt it was needed. And so I said, yes, that's a good use of the money. And in 3 months they had the money, and we were happy to be a part of that. It started at the time it did with the enthusiasm that it did. So thank you for following through with that.
Well, I'll start with somebody asked how did I get involved in this. Now, in 2012, in September, Bob Mayfield, a good friend from Waterloo, told me, come be part of this committee. I think you enjoy it. I got there. I got hooked. The committee, I went home and talked to Linda. And she said, we can do this. Construction. Working with volunteers. Okay, Lord, here we are again. So we started. About Memorial Day weekend, 2013, Friday, it was a day like this, beautiful. We set up 50 workstations around this area and about 10 saw stations. Saturday morning, I woke up in a camping trailer to pouring down rain. At 5 o'clock, I went to Walmart and got a rain suit. I started to use a lift and move 2 semis worth of wood from here down to the barn, the 3 double garages, into the Cairo Center, and said, give me a half an hour and we'll be building walls. Well, by Monday, 4 o'clock, we had built 125 walls.
The first grand camp, Connie referred to us as missionaries. And we kind of looked at each other and said, well, I guess we are on a mission. But people came with such enthusiasm. I'll never forget that first grand camp of the grandparents and the wee little 4-year-olds hammering away on sections of those rafters or shoveling. And the little boy who looked at this huge hole where one of the porches now is, saying, do I have to fill all of that in? A young person said to me, is Jerry mad at us? He looks very serious. I said, no, he's actually trying to resolve a problem from something an adult did.
And I want to thank all those volunteers. We couldn't have done that without all the volunteers who were present. And they had an opportunity to sign the cabins if they wanted to, on a 2x4 or to write a saying. I was so busy I never got that done. Outside, maybe each cabin has maybe a smear of a little bit of blood where it can. So last week I came up with something. I'd like to share it with you. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. The volunteers built these cabins out of love for that Son, so all who could enter could feel the love of God.
Also, the way that the money came in for this project is that it came in $5 and $10 and $100 and $100,000, all kinds of ways. Everybody in the body gave a little bit, and this is what we see. 62 different churches participated giving money in some way. Over 200 individuals gave money to watch them. A tradition here at the camp of naming our cabins and other things with such creative titles such as Cabin Number 1. Now, that's descriptive, but we were looking for a story. And so we have 3 cabins. Each of our cabins actually have names now with stories. And I would like now to introduce those names of the cabins and the stories behind it so that we will know that.
Many years ago, before the region included 4 states, the Upper Midwest region was made up of Minnesota and the 2 Dakotas. About the same time that the Christian Conference Center was being formed, then 3 states, the Upper Midwest, lent their name to the new 4-state region we know now as the Upper Midwest. However, in this process, the holy ground known by many generations had to be given up. This holy ground and camp set on the shore of Lake Minnetonka outside of the Twin Cities. The camp was named Tippewonkin, which means house of God. Tippy meaning house, and Wonkin meaning God. For many disciples of Christ, youth, adults, and other groups who used the camp, this was a place that they experienced the presence of God. In remembrance of this holiness of those grounds, and in honor of the holiness of the grounds here at the Christian Conference Center, the First Christian Church, Minneapolis, gave the gift for a cabin, naming the cabin Tippewonkin. And it celebrates the continuing ministry of the Upper Midwest region through the camping programs and the other uses of the Christian Conference Center. We love this holy ground.
Parents are Jack and Nancy Burright, and if you've been out here before, they just seem to be here all the time. My father says that although he's too old to have been a youth camper here, that he and his wife Nancy, my mom, did attend Grand Camp here. They did attend camps long before they were held here. All 4 of their children, myself, my brother John, my brother Blaine, and my sister Jeanette, all attended many years of camp here as campers. Then 3 of us who live in Iowa have been back and served the camping program as counselors, interns, and directors. My sister Jeanette, who lives in Indiana, has been involved in the camping program in Indiana there. Now, all 4 of his children are active members of Disciple of Christ congregations and feel that their camping experience has had a great deal to do with their continued involvement in their churches. I think also a lot of that has to do with him, as he is a member of the Operations Council, and I think he's become a permanent member of the Finance and Property Committees out here at the campus. So, when the opportunity arose to help with new cabins, Jack felt that it might be a way to help other campers grow the way that his children grew. They regret that they are unable to be here today for this great occasion, but they're excited that 3 of their children are here to represent the family. Jack and Nancy hope that the next 50 years show as much growth as the past 50 years, and may the holy ground be a path that many campers travel on their road to Christian faith. Thank you.
Bill did say I had 20 minutes, so so our church, Nora Christian Church, had I'm not even sure how much we gave to the project, but as a whole, we set out a goal to pay for a cabin. And our initial goal was to pay for one of the small cabins, and I think we got real close to what our church members were able to give. And I didn't know we were going to get to name the cabin, and then all of a sudden I get an email from our interim minister, and he goes, "We've got to name this cabin, and Bill wants a name within a month." Doors out in the outside of the sanctuary church, and said, "Congregation members, do you have a preference on what you want this cabin to be named? Stick some money in there." That money's going to go back up to this project to help pay for the furniture or whatever was needed. And in 7 days, there were
were little kids walking up there dropping their pennies and stuff in the names that they chose, and it overwhelmingly was Lighthouse. And the description that we had all along was a source of illumination, safety, and guidance. I looked up what Lighthouse means. It just kind of gives a definition of it. And I hope that this cabin serves that for many campers for many years to come, and not just the kids, but the adults and the staff and many generations to come. So we're excited to have the cabin named Lighthouse.
30 years ago, I could never have imagined how 1 week in a year of church camp would have such a profound effect on my life and that of my families. This place is holy ground. The minute we turn the corner off what used to be a gravel road, our world. The other night, I put on Facebook that BSB had asked me to speak about the value of camp and why it will matter to all of us. I received so many wonderful comments that I would like to share a few with you. From Marcia Burright, camp is faith in action. From Lacey Dean, camp is so important to me. Camp was the first place that I ever truly felt the presence of God. For myself, as a youth, I never went to church camp. But starting as a counselor, that really was the start of my faith journey. I have to tell you, I have learned more about God through the youth than I could ever have imagined. God's presence is here in this place. John Clausen writes, camp is the place where God touches our hearts. That's what I believe too. He has done that for me and for many of us right here. God has called us to be His hands, His feet, His mouth, His eyes. Camp is where we can do that. We can see the beauty of God's hands in the outdoors. We can hear God's words given to those who speak them at our meals, at our family group, at our fun times, that building community and lifelong friendships. We can see and hear God in our morning watch and our evening worships. God is here right now in all that we do and all that we say in this real world.
So much as well. It's something that, seeing children that will hopefully have the same opportunity I did to start as a child, come to camp, work out here as an intern, even be able to be a counselor. To go ahead and keep paying it forward. There's that thought of if one person touches the life of 10 people and each of those touch the life of 10 people, how that just snowballs out of control. I think that's what this place does. That this place has the power to change the world.
Cabins. Bless all those that will feel the warmth and the comfort and the peace and the acceptance of your love wrapped around them as they enter it and as they sleep. Bless the pool, the laughter, the smiles, the fears conquered, as those kids will get to enjoy a brand new facility and feel the light of your love shine up on them as they enter it. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
I declare the cabins and the pool open for occupation.